Welcome everyone, and we are back with more League action as Gambit Gaming and SK Gaming Prime are about to duke it out in Game 3 of maybe 5 for a spot in the European LCS. Now in our last match, Gambit came back to answer SK Prime. The series is now tied 1-1. Yeah,
a lot of that was off the back of Diamond. He had a really bad Game 1, but he stepped it up in Game 2. And we saw him on FaZe Cam before. Look at that! He's all smiles now. Before, he just looked like a sad little puppy dog. He got himself 2, 3, and 17 on Vi, going back to a jungle that he didn't get to play during the summer series. And now, he's ready to rock. He's ready to go have those skirmishes and get Nick fed.
And he's doing really well for himself. On the other side of the jungle, though, and it was our featured matchup at the start, it still seems to be the matchup that matters in this game. But his kick is there for SK Prime. He had a very lackluster Kha'Zix game. They thought denying that from Diamond was going to matter, but he just did not get rolling.
Man, you just see the complete difference in just facial expressions when you win and when you lose, and then how it affects you. Because Kikis was smiling so much after that Fizz game.
Right.
And Diamond, complete opposite. Now they've swapped.
Yeah, he got to run around and be Fizz and do cool things. And that's the thing is, as much as players love Kha'Zix, for whatever reason, I don't see it do that much because I feel like that champion is susceptible. Right? Like, Vi has the guaranteed engages. And it's like, at level 6, I'm going to, like, Vault Break here, I'm going to Assault and Battery, and, like, the gank is there. And we saw, like, the immediate kill through the exhaust with the Vi Zed ult. And, like, that, to me, is just, like, this reliable source of power and income that you can rely on. Whereas, like, again, on Kha'Zix, 0-7-3, like, never got anything rolling. I feel like it's so required that you have a good start on a champ like that can't just force the issue just cuz. I know it's weird to say, but like, to me, that's like a small weakness there, where it's just like, sometimes you're just completely unreliable, nothing happens.
Well, the thing about Kha'Zix is he usually builds about 3 offensive items. At the same time, when you're Kha'Zix in this particular meta, in this particular season right now, everybody's maxing W, and some people are evolving E, which just seems like a waste of resources, because E is very selfish, not exactly gank-oriented build. It's kind of like, I'm going to team fight and try to get resets.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work out. W is much more effective, 50% slow, vision for checking the bushes. Also, you're going to spread the damage from the ability you're maxing across more people. It just seems more bang for your buck.
Well, look at this, though. Thresh turns out to be the top pick now for Gambit Gaming. They've removed Nick Zed. They've realized it's actually a very scary champion. The Alistar's still banned by the red team. But Thresh is the top pick, which means immediately Tristana and Maokai do get grabbed. And we heard, I believe it was Crumbs or Dominate, I forget which one said it, but he's like, yeah, you know, blue side picks one, and then red tries to get 2 sort of, air quotes, OP champions. Thresh, not that common of a first pick.
No, but they wanted it locked up for Edward, and they want to take that away from Zaitan. That is his most played throughout the summer series and the playoffs. He falls back on Braum, sometimes Nami, but he's going to need something here to synergize with Z's and keep him safe in that bot lane. So it could be either of them.
Well, interesting here, but that's going to be the hover on the rest of this now. Gambit took the next couple of choices. SK Prime not picking any surprising champions whatsoever. And now let's see. Kha'Zix for Diamond. It was banned away in Game 1. It was first picked in Game 2. Is Diamond really this Kha'Zix god that was requiring so much attention to pick some bans earlier?
Yeah, he has not gotten it before. The hover over onto it. He wants to do it.
All right.
You can see that. He's going to lock that in for himself. Is he the Kha'Zix god?
We're going to have to see.
Well, he doesn't have a mid laner who's going to take it from him anymore, so.
Potentially. You never know. Nick lost 2 AD assassins already in picks and bans, so maybe he'll want a third here. Lucian, though, for Curzon is interesting. They don't rush pick a top laner or a mid laner there. They're letting everything else kind of fall in and get picked up whenever. SK Prime will now have to blind pick their mid laner or grab their jungle pick. Could be Fizz and it could be both.
It could. It could definitely be a Fizz coming out here. I assume they're going to leave Watafox to have his counter pick here, because last time he picked a Syndra into a matchup where there were a lot of gap closers onto him, and oh my god, Freak.
Yep. This I like a lot, actually. I really love red side Fizz. They did it in Game 1 as well, because it guarantees you see all of Gambit's matchups before you choose where Fizz goes.
It's such a good flex pick. You wouldn't think it, but it's a flex pick. We live in a world
where Fizz is a flex pick.
In a world where Fizz is a flex pick. It's utterly ridiculous.
One man,
one fish,
plays Jungle Fizz.
Kick his ears.
Fizz.
During the 2015 Spring Promotion Tournament.
What, you got the disclaimers going on now? coming this fall.
That wasn't a disclaimer. That was
to the
telling
LCS.
you when it's happening.
That's true.
Anyway, that's going to be a Rise locked in for Kuban on the top lane up against Smitty J's Maokai. And, ooh. So another assassin here for Nick in the mid lane.
You know what's weird? Is I feel like when you see the flex pick locked in, it actually puts more stress on your champion picks than by seeing it just be completely blind. You're like, okay, I have to make sure I can deal with Fizz. Like, you always have to make sure you can deal with Fizz. Fizz could always be picked. But, like, it like puts an extra strain of, like, he could be in this mid lane right now.
Exactly. That's why I love it so much, because it's kind of like a bait, but at the same time, if you pick a champion that's bad against Fizz, he'll just be like, oh, no, I'll just take the Fizz.
Yeah, whatever, YOLO.
Here's your Jarvan. He could pull that off. He could even do that right now with the Fizz if he wanted to. Or Kikis just really wants it that badly, and WandaFox will go back to something like Syndra, or he'll go to something like Ori. Oriana's actually banned out. Pick something like a Ziggs.
I want to see. 8 seconds to go. They're taking their time. Talon is the hover.
Okay.
And it's picked up there. WandaFox gets the Talon mid lane up here against Ahri.
Man,
I do want to see what happens here.
This team, SK Gaming Prime, they are not afraid to whip out these champions that are little unorthodox. You know, Talon, he was seeing more play, but up against this Ahri, dodge a charm by jumping to the back of him.
Yep.
Silence him, cutthroat, you're all good.
True. Well, they have the damage, especially if they can time this one together, because you put the cutthroat on right as you pull the shark out, and you can't flash away from it. So Nick could be in a whole bunch of trouble here. Diamond did get his Kha'Zix, though, for the first time this series. And Edward with the first pick, Thresh. Man, the Thresh Prince, we know he is great at this champion. And I want to see what else these guys can pull out. SK Gaming putting out new stuff.
There's going to be some blood. There's going to be a lot of blood this game.
There will be.
You have basically like 4 assassin-oriented people with jungle mid, and you know they're going to clash because this is just such a jungle mid-oriented matchup in terms of the teams and their styles.
They're the roles that seem to matter the most in this game. They're getting their teams ahead, and the other lanes aren't really bullying out that hard, so all the action tends to be in the middle of the map. We're going to see if that ends up happening again in Game 3. We're about to go live, so be sure to tweet us who you think is going to win this game. Send hashtag GMB win or hashtag SKP win to @LOL Esports, and we'll be tracking the votes throughout our series here. SK Prime back to the jungle Fizz there for Kikis. Got to see what happens with these guys. It's going to be a whole bunch of fun just because craziness. More. I wonder if he's going to keep doing the AD Fizz. Oh, by the way, I did check out his runes and masteries. So the rundown for this wonderful Fizz. Attack speed marks, health per level seals, 3 CDR per level glyphs, 6 magic resist per level glyphs. So it's basically 5% CDR at 18, and 3 ability power quints.
I don't know why you got to tell people this. I was going to do that when I went home. It's done. It's ruined.
Too late,
it's ruined,
bro. Masteries 28-20.
Yeah, that's because he's jungling. Usually you'll do 30-0 on Fizz if you're just a man, but he wants those 2 for the jungle creeps.
And it seemed to be enough for him. And again, he maxed W and then E. Lizard Elder into Triforce into Tanky.
It's a crazy auto attack master, but here we go. Death the ball from SKP.
Walking through wards, they don't even care. Another trinket over the wall from Kuban, going to keep them safe. Edward spots them. Actually gets shot at, though.
Whoa.
He feels safe, though. There's so little CC on SK Prime, though. It's just Braum Q. And then Smitty has to get into range for the rest of his stuff.
Where could they be?
What? This is just...
They know exactly where they are.
Wait,
SKP,
seriously?
SKP.
What's going on right now?
To the choke point right now.
All right.
Oh,
SK
God.
Prime saying, you know what, let us out. And Gambit says, we're going to hook Z's.
Oh, they got Z's!
The hook! Z's, you were in a bad spot, but in comes the jump. Nick flashes away, stays alive. Z's, one hit from dead, goes down. First blood to Kuban. Gambit still in the mix. SK Prime desperately trying to leave this fight. Not what they wanted at all.
The charm, the very tip of it.
They re-engage on the tanky Thresh, though. This is not good. A second kill is picked up. 2 for 1 so far. Okay. SKP backing out. But still.
I said there was going to be blood, but I didn't know it was going to happen in small court. They're going back. What are you doing?
There are more kills than minutes in the game right now.
Oh, wow. So bloody game right out the gate, but here's what ended up happening. There's a ton of assists across the board for Gambit here in the mid lane, in that bot lane. SKP, they're going to lane swap this. They don't want to have to deal with that Lucian who has more consumables and is definitely going to dominate that lane.
here's the thing, is Gambit gets to walk in the bot lane with, yeah, those potions, and life's going to be painful. So let's see. Lane swap here for SK Prime. Tristana just going to chill up there, try to farm. They are still doing the same thing where they are duo laning up there and just slowly, or I guess kind of as quickly as they can, push the turret down. As opposed to the solo AD carry getting a bunch of XP on him.
Oh, Edward is actually harassing Kickus in his jungle. He's keeping tabs on him. Having to jungle with SmittyJ. And the big thing here is all the summoner spells that have been blown. Multiple flashes. Every flash on Gambit Gaming was blown here. So if Kickus can capitalize off of that before they're back up around the 6-minute mark, then he can get some kills for himself. But I think Gambit's going to play a little more conservative, a little more reserved until that point.
Yeah, it seems like he's slowing down a little bit here.
But on the flip side, Diamond, he can take advantage of the blown flashes on SKP. So both these junglers, jungler paradise. It's happening all over again.
Man, this is Coolio stuff here for Diamond then. Can he get into the mid lane? A ward says no. What the Fox, though, on the wrong side of the lane, gets reached. The slow is there. What the Fox has flash. Charm has to flash away from that one. All right. But that is a summoner spell lost.
He has a lot of consumables. Kickus and SmittyJ are actually going to take a little trek down here. Is there a ward? No, there isn't. Nick doesn't have his flash.
He's on the wrong side of the lane.
Smitty has his.
Comes the flash route, and there's nowhere for Nick to go. There's all the slows. There's the kill picked up. Smitty gets it back 2-2 in the game.
Kickus and Smitty. Smitty still had his flash and made complete advantage of that. When a level 1 happens, you still have to take into account what summoner spells were blown, because now it's completely even across the board in terms of gold.
Alrighty, so what are we going to have play here? Top lane under fire. Z is doing what he can. Kuban, though, because they're only pushing lanes and not harassing, is actually getting...
Igna Flash is being down. Kickus doesn't have his.
Oh, man. 200 health. Diamond does get away with the Playful Trickster, or gets run away from by Kickus with the Playful Trickster. There we go, Grammar. He's going to get the white here. So far so good. Gambit on the slightest of leads. But yeah, what I was saying before is Kuban is getting time to farm because SKP are only going for turret damage. They're not hitting him nearly as much. So this Rise is allowed to scale up somewhat.
Yeah, Zaitan, they're pushing the wave up. Zaitan's using his unblockable, or unbreakable, sorry, to stand in front of it and block all the shots that Kuban would be putting at the minions so that he loses some CS underneath the turret.
That's good.
But he can't deny all of it. But SmittyJ did end up catching up because he helped out in a kill.
We'll see where the Maokai ends up going. Still only 5 CS on him. Is bot lane in a 1v2 for now. We're going to see. He's against a level 3 Thresh and a level 3 Lucian as a level 2 Maokai. He's not quite able to get the CS with his Q right here. So a very slow start for SmittyJ.
Both these junglers, they have about a minute window right now where they can make one more gank and get some kills off of these blown flashes. So Kickus, he's actually coming around. Kuban is here too.
Wow, the roam around. He does get spotted by a ward, though, in the brush right below him.
Yeah, they know exactly where Kuban is now. On the side of SKP.
It looks like he's not going to get much of a play happened here. Kickus will remove this white camp one more time. And I'm going to see if Kuban can make something happen. What the Fox's flash is actually down for a while. Wow, that charm hit! This is not good for What the Fox. There's no flash just yet for Kuban, but the Rune Prison is in range. There's the Q. There's the Ignite. Oh! One last Q. Can't quite reach. That won't matter. That's the last Ignite tick. Kill goes over to Nick.
And the true damage is burning through the extra bonus stats from Stand Behind Me. Doesn't matter at all. Kuban TPing back top, and he's there for the minion wave.
What a good roam. Didn't even have to flash for it. Just walked forward until his opponents died. Beautiful stuff there by Gambit.
A big part of that is you typically run movement speed consistencies on.
You do.
On Rise, so he's able to close that distance a little bit faster. What the Fox, the big thing was that he walked into a charm from Nick. Kind of got pathed into it while moving by the minions.
He was just trying to build as much distance as possible from Rise and then got kind of pushed up against the wall. And it wasn't enough for him. So,
all those flash windows closed.
Yep.
6 minutes, 30 seconds. All flashes are back up except for mid lane and top lane for SKP.
I guess you could say the plugin crashed. All the flash windows have closed. Browser joke? Yeah, that's right.
Freak's biggest fan is attending today. How much you pay that guy?
You tweeted them out yesterday. They're taped up against the railings.
They are. Oh. How much did you pay that guy, though? Seriously.
I just paid attention.
Yeah, see? Oh, how quickly they turn.
Well, here we go, though. SK Prime trying to claw back into this one. And we're going to see that top lane still under siege. We're just watching Z's and Zaitan. Such letter synergy in their names. Just pushing down this top lane turret. Kuban not able to easily defend 1v2. But he's still just getting that farm going. Look at that. Yeah, that was really nice. Zaitan blocks a lot of the gold income. And that will be... All right, turret killed. First of the game. SK Prime back close in gold because of this. But Zaitan...
They have to back up.
Oh, man.
Here comes Ari. Here comes Nick.
Level 6 Ari, 300 health Braum. He does have flash. He has exhaust. Summoner heals up as well. Charm's going to come in and gets it. Exhaust not going to be enough. Diamond gets the kill, and now Z's stuck a little bit. But Smitty J comes in. Kuban's got to be real careful. He does have flash, but he's locked up for too long. Kill picked up by the Maokai. Now Diamond is low. Flash away from the rocket jump. There's a lantern that no one wants to take. What the Fox a little bit far away. Nick gets the Q. Ooh, that was nearly a kill on Smitty J if those skill shots landed.
The hook stalled out Wat to Fox so that he couldn't use his ultimate and close that distance with the extra bonus movement speed. Good roams there. On the overall, I believe it's just a 1-for-1. And a turret falling into the hands of SKP's 500 gold deficit after everything's all said and done.
But also keep in mind, it's a lot of comparative gold for Z's here. He had local gold. He got the assist as well on that kill. So he's actually starting to scale above Krislin just a little bit. He's going to back, should have BF sword on this recall. And that will allow him to hold onto a 2-on-2 lane a little bit better than he might have otherwise, since he was down potions from the level 1. Also keep in mind, that level 1 gold that Gambit all got, almost down the line went into consumables, because it was a lot of assist gold. So a lot of that gold has actually disappeared at this point. It's already been paid for.
Yeah, it just evaporated. It's not ineffective combat stats at this point in the game.
Right. Also, in terms of combat stats, actually more recalls have also come through for SKP. So until we see Krislin go back to base, this Tristana's going to do a lot more for a maybe dragon fight.
Yeah, exactly. What they ended up doing with the lane swap is farm until BF, get BF sword, back, go straight to the dragon, or at least establish dragon control. And the fact that Krislin hasn't backed yet, he'll have more items, but right now he's just burning a hole in his pocket.
Here he goes.
All this money. If they see him back,
I think they expect him to back. Smitty sees this. He can sapling him. This is actually good for SKP. They really could force off the 80 carry power difference.
Yeah, he's trying to back desperately right now. They'll get some turret damage, but they're also calling Rise down here too. So he's going to back.
Yeah.
And yeah, it looks like the call might be...
Kick is heading down.
Get the dragon.
Okay. So there is a very small window, about 20 seconds till Krislin shows up. He's got boots 1. He's going to get there pretty quickly, but there's a dragon attempt. Diamond in the wings, evolve W, good poke.
Yeah, poke is so good at this dragon right now. The fact that he evolved his W is definitely going to help them out.
Nope.
Not going to take it, but look at that.
All right.
Because of the back, because Z's got there first, and he was able to have that BF sword, Krislin hadn't backed. He had the pressure on him, gave them enough time.
He waited too many waves.
Yep.
Like, look how rich that recall was. Plus boots 1, plus a pink ward, plus new potions. That's like 4 or 5 extra waves they didn't need to wait for. You could have backed just on BF and pink ward like 2 minutes ago and been there and available for a dragon.
Yeah, and SKP had already established dominance in the air. Wat to Fox, he has to get out.
Ooh, he ended the ult too soon, though. He could have kept the move speed and the invisibility for longer. And that made him lose his flash against Nick.
Kuban's actually just been roaming around the map, trying to be very effective. He actually has 100% kill participation at this moment as a Rise from the top lane that got lane swapped on.
I guess you could say his kill participation has really rised a lot this game. You're just done. You're just so done with this.
I'm not giving you a reaction. I know that.
That's fine. The audience does. I don't need you anymore. Gambit, though, they definitely need to get some gold back and for themselves. Down 300 right here. Great dragon by SKP. Puts them ahead. Zaitan actually doesn't quite block that. The shield's too far left. The bullets go past the door. SK Prime now. Looking pretty good. And they've got good fallback, of course. They have this Tristana for the backline power. They've got this Maokai for the team fights. And by the way, it is a different build. Fizz went Spectral Wraith.
Yeah, he's swapped it up. Kikis is...
Top lane, though. Kikis is nowhere to be seen in this fight. It's Smitty J and a 1v2. He's taking a lot of damage from Kuban and Diamond. Knocks him back. Not going to matter. Nice kill picked up by Diamond. Overextended Maokai.
And the only thing we can really get is turret damage in this bot lane here. And Kikis showing up to get it. Oh. Troll pole. And he's done.
Yep. That'll be fine. So
we haven't seen a lot of action from Kikis in these last couple of minutes. He's really just been farming his jungle, trying to show up in the lanes and push them. But he hasn't been making any bold moves ever since that window where they had blown flashes. I haven't seen a shark be thrown out from him yet.
yeah, me either. You're right.
He hasn't pushed a level 6 at all.
I guess it's been hard for him to find a way in on Nick, and the lanes have been so lopsided. There's just not been ganks available, it seems.
Yeah,
But
also,
now-
Smitty J, why was he up so far?
He just was pushing.
He was pushing it, just causing as much pressure as he possibly could. He has his teleport available now, and there is a ward that's behind these guys, the bot lane here from Chrislin and Edward.
All right, there's the blue buff, Nick. Nice and happy on this one. Diamond has 3 kills, so he is pretty far ahead in this game. Level 8. Looking to make a lurking move into the top lane there. Smitty J down 2 levels. He's so far behind from this lane swap. Level 7, jumped on Rune Prison, jumps to a minion, tries to get away. Half health right now. 1100, gets out.
Good twisted advance there.
Yeah, he saw that immediately.
More distance. And the flash away. Now we're going to see Kikis. I think he's going to go a long way around. He's going to jump a wall, take a trip. Hup.
Alrighty, he's going to get in behind the duo lane. Has a blue buff, has a Spectral Wraith. Does not get spotted.
Where's the fish?
Fish comes out, does not catch anyone though. Chrislin flashes out. He's safe. That fish barely missed Edward.
You know what? Kind of between them. It's like throwing a fish through a goalpost.
Yep, 3 points. I actually had a thought the other day, we shouldn't make American football references when we're casting EU teams.
Unless I say American football, right?
No, just in general.
Okay.
We should talk about stoppers and sweepers and stuff. And the keeper. Corner kick for Gambit Gaming. Coming up the brush. Actually, Chrislin, I mean, he could be playing Striker Ezra or Striker Lucian right now. What a hater.
Anyway, at the same time, throw all this stuff to the side, back to the game, watch the Fox. He's actually been doing a pretty good job on this Talon. He has more CS than Nick at the moment, but his roams, he's been kind of reactionary to what Nick has been doing because he hasn't been pairing up with Kikis in the same way. Because Diamond and Nick have become a roam squad, whereas they haven't done the same.
Yeah, you're right. We're just not like seeing the Talon go anywhere. He actually did get early Moby Boots as well. He's got the Brutalizer. Like, Wattobox can go make plays and go crush people. We're just not seeing him leave lane. Level 10 here. Nick sweeps the wave. Oh, the hook on Aziz, not good for the Triss. Flayed back as well. Ignite is on. Aziz knocks back Chrislin smartly, but 300 health. Oh my god, here comes Smitty J. Can he knock down Chrislin? Looks like the answer is going to be yes. Off of the stun. Now Edward pretty screwed, but in comes Kuban. Edward still though about to go down, burns the flash, might just get out, and in comes Diamond, but the rocket jump keeps him safe, and now Wattobox has shown up the double kill for Smitty J. He falls onto the turret to Kuban. Diamond now forced to run, in comes Nick, Z's goes down, and Nick could go massive here. Tries to chase down on the Talon, can't quite do it, misses the charm on Zytan. That would have been the kill. Instead it's a 2 for 2, I believe, overall.
Yeah, and they just keep trickling in, and Kikis had nothing to do with that fight. All 5 members of Gambit did something, only 4 of SKP. Kikis was way too far away, and he didn't do anything. He didn't push a wave instead. He tries to show up, but it's just a trickle in back and forth.
Diamond gonna claim that. Puts Kikis away, and a turret.
Kikis maxed his E this time.
Okay.
So, completely different build.
Well, yeah, he's got cooldown boots too. It's this like weird castery cooldown, now AP Fizz.
Yeah, I like how after one game of AD Fizz with maxing W, we're like, what is he doing now? This is so unorthodox from the unorthodox stuff he was doing before. So if you just watch the minimap, it's so crazy because you see everybody start trickling in here, and the TPs come down, and then it just funnels up. It's kind of like an alternating ladder. Kha'Zix is going to show up now, zone off Z's. He's going to get out of there, and then Talon shows up, zones off Kha'Zix. That allows Z's to come back forward. Ari shows up, says, oh, there's Z's. Goes straight after him, picks him off, and then they're like, uh-oh, we lost our AD carry. And then finally Kick shows up, but there's nothing. But here's this fight, 4-man.
Dragon fight, in goes Z's. Edward will go down. The Shark doesn't matter. Now Kuban also going to fall. 2 for 0. Double kill for SK Prime's AD carry. Mid lane under fire now.
They're going to go straight for this middle turret. That was a huge ultimate there from WTFox. Like, usually Talon ultimates, you're like, oh, it's used to get mobility. That was a ton of damage he ended up dealing there to multiple members of Gambit Gaming to just soften them up for the fight.
That was a good thing then for SK Prime. They are actually still down in gold, though, from that last team fight of Gambit and everything else. Kickus, no blue up to steal. Still has stacks to spend.
And during all of that, there was actually the Dragon going over to Diamond, and Gambit Gaming picks it up for themselves.
Yeah, I was like, wow, that's a lot more gold than I expected from that fight. But yeah, Turret and Dragon did go to Gambit then. All right, so 700 gold lead still for Gambit, despite that 2 for 0 just now. Also, almost all the gold is on Smitty J, so he is actually one of the big breadwinners for this team. He's a kind of a tanky bro now. Whereas it's actually Diamond who's got a very large number of kills for the team. He actually has more gold than this Rise from Kuban. And we're seeing that, you know, Diamond has still been very effective on this Kha'Zix. There's clearly reason to deny that champion.
I was just thinking about champion pools too. You're talking about how they've been denying the Kha'Zix from him by banning it or picking it away. And now he's on it in 3-0-1. Probably the best showing he's had all day, statistically so far. But then if you think about like WTFox, he plays so many champions in the mid lane. This is just another champion that we haven't seen him on before. Like I said, he played 8 different ones during 10 games. And this is just the 9th one that we've seen in the last couple of months from him. So his champion pool is very vast. He seems very skilled on these champions too. Like Talon, he's not the easiest champion to play. His laning phase is very punishable.
Yeah.
And you also have some timing windows and power spikes. Like if you get to that super late game, you're not as effective as if you had pushed your mid-game spikes. Your 1 item, your 2 item. Then when you get to max items, you're like, there's better assassins out there. But speaking of pushing your mid-game...
Wow, walks into a charm. WTFox jumps right on in, though. Tries to get the damage. Not going to happen. 1 for 0, and Kickus is in the wrong part of town now. 2 kills picked up for Gambit. Edward secures the kill.
And you're extremely squishy on top of all of that and extremely susceptible to CC, which Nick just threw out there and completely obliterated WTFox, and Kickus pretty much had to sacrifice himself too at that point because Diamond showed up.
Wow, WTFox didn't realize it was not just Thresh in that brush. And yeah.
They're going to push this bottom lane here on Gambit Gaming side with 3 members strong. SKP, they don't have an answer to this just yet. Instead, they're going to go try to push down mid.
Well, they're not getting very much done, though, because Kuban and Krislin happily stopping them here. Instead, it's the Gambit bot lane crew shoving down bot tier 2 just fine. 3,000 gold lead going to be here after the turret falls down. Gambit looking pretty darn good.
Looks like they might get collapsed on here by SKP. Moby Boots from Zaitan.
Eddie. Oh, wow, he caught up to him. And now Nick gets the charm on a Zaitan, but in comes Z's. The Q slow lands. There's nowhere for Nick to go. That's going to be 2 kills as payment for the bottom tier 2 turret.
But the mid tier 1 is being pressured now from Gambit Game. They are trading objectives for kills across the board here. It's just a bloody game, but on top of it, they're doing a really good job at trading objectives.
Yeah. Well, let's see if SKP can do something with these kills, though, because, of course, champions are dying when Dragon and stuff are off the map, when lanes are pushed out away from them. Mid lane looks like the focus.
They're gonna go back to it.
Ooh, WTFox and Diamond in a bit of a duel. Diamond, they're doing so well in this battle. WTFox does win the fight with a Ravenous Hydra active at the end, and now mid tier 2 under fire.
Despite that pink ward, seeing WTFox during it, still a victory for him.
But the play on a Smitty J, gotta be careful. Rune Prison there as well. And the team is forced to back away. He does not pop his ulti the entire time. He's forced to flash away. He could have just been blocking damage the whole time.
There is a little bit of a cast time on the ultimate that stops you, and you think he might have been afraid of being in range of Kuban.
Hell, he was Rune Prison for part of it.
Yeah.
Just cast it then. It's a 30-second cooldown. Whatever.
Yep.
Real men waste ultimate cooldowns. Alright, so Kickus, does get his red buff for himself. He is on the way to Lich Bane, but this is going to be a much less powerful Assassin Fizz than a mid laner would have been. So I want to know how much this damage does scale up. Smitty, got to look for the root onto Krislin. Zaitan shows as well. Z's in the mix. Good flash by Krislin. The knockup will not land. And here comes Kuban. What can he do, though? It's a bit of a 2-on-3 as the team comes to reinforce a bit later on. Stun lands. Krislin will go down 1 for 0. The box doesn't mean too terribly much. And Edward now forced to run away as well.
WTFox has the Moby Boots, has the ultimate. Not going to close that distance just yet. Instead decides to clear out this mid wave with his Ravenous Hydra.
I actually find it interesting that WTFox is going for both the Youmu's and the Hydra completion before Last Whisper. Because Whisper would have been more total damage on a spell combo. But the actives give him other utility like movement speed and clear ability.
And also the animation canceling on his ultimate.
But even just the Tiamat though, right? Like, to go from Tiamat to Hydra is 1,400 gold.
I don't think he would have beaten Diamond in that one-on-one.
Maybe not.
If he didn't have
it. And that's totally fair, of course, to say as well, right? But I just find it interesting that that's the choice he went for.
It's a choice, and it paid off for him.
Yep.
I'm sure it'll be his next item, though.
Yeah, Longsword, definitely Last Whisper. Watch it's like a Bloodthirster runner, just sad.
Stop.
Sword of the Occult. Learning from Alliance.
Bloodthirster, Ravenous Hydra. Oh, Lord.
Hey. I mean, they work.
Looking for a pick here.
Oh, wow. He's lucky the charm didn't hit. Flashes over the wall. He stays safe off of very little required by Gambit. Zaytan at the front line. Z's is there to clean up. Krislan versus What the Fox. Not happy for this poor little Lucian. He goes down in the 1v1. SK Prime Speedy J stays alive. And now the jump in towards Diamond, but Z's has to be careful. He's taking a lot of damage. Pushes Diamond over the wall, and now there's so much damage, so Zaytan holds the front line for as long as he can, but Speedy J is about to fall. What the Fox also getting chased down. So much damage comes out from Kuban, who now goes for Z's, and they crush SKP in that fight.
Ends up being a 5 for 2, and that's going to be Gambit picking up another dragon for themselves and accelerating this gold lead. That team fight couldn't have gone better for them at this point in the game.
No.
1v1 in the bot, Krislan ends up losing that to What the Fox. But at the same time, they end up winning the big bulk of the team fight. Kikis uses most of his resources here and is just pushed out of the fight. He is a non-factor for the rest of this fight and hangs off by the right until he gets picked off by Diamond Fox. Z's, he has to end up off on the side. He ends up getting this distance closed back in on him when they turn this fight around. Smitty J is in full retreat. Z's jumps forward, jumps towards Diamond, and then he flashes and has to be zoned off to the side. This entire time, you can see Kikis is off on the side, doing nothing. Diamond ends up picking him off on the side, and now Z's hasn't been doing damage. The effective DPS of most members of SKP was around that 0 portion for a good margin of that fight.
Kikis was zoned out the entire time.
And despite having a numbers advantage.
Sure. No, exactly. The fact that they got so outplayed in the team fight was massive for Gambit. SKP do at least get the bottom outer as Retribution, but they're still down in turrets, down in dragons, down in kills, down in gold. Krislan somewhere on the map. It's actually What the Fox is talking about here, though. Nick gonna go down towards What the Fox. And there's the kill picked up. Edward securing his 4th of the game. So far, so good for Edward and Gambit. 5,000 gold up.
And at this point in the game, it's really hard for a Talon when the other team gets a little bit ahead of you because he's a snowbally champion that relies on you to be ahead and continue to push that forward. Because when the other team gets a little bit ahead of you, it's so hard to come back as Talon.
That could be the painful truth for these guys now. Nice smite. It's going to be Kikis grabbing the big Wraith, but Gambit are definitely the bullies of the map right now. They are starting to get better and better as the series goes on. Gambit in control of the map now.
And they have complete ward coverage of that Baron area all across. There really isn't a whole lot for anybody to push on the map right now. It's really on Gambit to get these wards, keep these wards around the Baron, find a pick or two more, which they've been doing a good job of, and then going from there. Because they've been winning team fights on top of everything. So if they can get a pick before it with an Ahri charm, then they're good to go. Kuban still has this massive lead over Smitty J in CS, in levels. And there's a fight for the pick.
Zaytan does not quite get flayed, but Gambit still taking control. Ward coverage is still down. They're sweeping everything away. It's still the Gambit show. $5,200 gold lead. Diamond started out incredibly strong. He's now 4-1-5. That Kha'Zix really showing that it was probably pretty important for him. He's actually still out-leveling most players on his team. He's tied with Nick for first place in levels here. Now 1 level behind, but this Kha'Zix, a very big deal for Gambit. Something I think definitely goes away in Game 4. SKP thought maybe they can let it through. That, 3 picks went through. Still no Kha'Zix. Went over to Gambit.
Yeah, they've prioritized that Thresh for Edward, which
And also, I mean, SKP put their bans on towards Nick. They got rid of the Zed. Their first 2 picks were on the Tristana and on the Maokai. I think these are more important as well. Well, Diamond maybe proving them wrong here.
Yeah, they were looking for that hyper late game for themselves.
And it still exists, to be fair.
It does.
There's a giant ceiling for this SKP lineup.
Once that Tristana, if it gets going, the fact that they have another threat from the jungle of this Fizz, like, he needs a lot of gold. He needs a lot of gold to be effective, and it's really hard for him to get it because he's in the jungle. But once he gets it, he's just going to be blowing people up. He can one-shot Nick, he can one-shot Diamond. And even if he makes his way to Crystalline.
We'll see. So far, these assassins have done a good job of removing Crystalline, but Kuban has been such a good, durable carry. That's why one of the reasons I really love Ryze against assassin-heavy teams, because Ryze typically does not get one shot, but still provides that persistent damage that wins team fights.
And he just destroys assassins with his Rune Prison.
Yeah. You can see Gambit also 2 pink cords in inventory, plus 2 upgraded sweepers. They can deal pretty reliably with the stealth of Watt to Fox.
Yeah, they've been putting a lot of resources into that, not just the sweepers, but like you said, the pink cords that they've been throwing down. They had one in the bush when Diamond was fighting him. Up top, they threw down one mid-fight. Pretty much treating him like an Ahri, or sorry, an Akali. I don't know why I said Ahri. Oh, she's on the screen.
Yeah.
Brain, please.
It's understandable, though. I know how that goes.
A champion, what is it? Boom, Akali.
Anivia?
Yep. Oh, the flash from Crystalline to avoid the Chumble Waters.
All right, that is an important 5-minute cooldown gone. If they actually have a way of dealing with Kuban, like if they peel for Z's and just remove Crystalline, that should be a team fight win for SKP regardless of the gold lead right now.
At the same time, there is going to be a blue buff falling into Nick's hands here. The Dragon is up in 20 seconds, and there's pressure on this mid lane. You're going to go down bottom, establish Dragon control, clear out that huge wave, and start pushing that in their favor so they don't have to worry about this after the Dragon. They can continue their assault on mid.
And you can see how smart Gambit is, right? Ahri holds the bot lane. The rest of the team actually holds mid pretty successfully. This one caster minion won't allow a lot of push by SKP. You see they don't even try. They go for Crystalline instead. Actually, a lot of damage dealt. The Lantern does not come in time. That is an assassination by SKP.
Well, you're talking about that. Kikis, this Fizz can blow people up, and with the help of Watt to Fox, it's even higher. The hook on Aziz, though.
Hook on Aziz, yep, he will stay safe, though, with shield. Smitty J still holds the front line. Diamond is in the wings. 5,000 gold deficit. SK Prime bring that down towards 4,000. A little bit less than that here. Clawing back in. 2 for 2 on Dragons. 2 for 2, I should say. Realize their blue is gone.
You talked about the blown flash from the Chum the Waters on Crystalline. They take complete advantage of that Kikis. We talked about him as a control capitalization type jungler, and he's really known for his 2-on-2 skirmishes, but he's also known for taking advantage of flash timers. We saw him do it in the early game before the 6-minute mark when the flashes were back up in mid, and we just saw him do it there where he's like, you don't have flash for the next 5 minutes. I know exactly what's going to happen here. We're going to blow you up. No questions. Gets down the Dragon. Gets them back into the game, and a 4,000 gold difference only between these two teams.
And I'm trying to figure out where this 4,000 gold lead comes from. Because kills are 2 apart, turrets are 1 apart, dragons are equal. You can see, of course, individual contributions here where, like, kind of down the line, every lane is ahead here for Gambit.
Yeah, 40, 30, 30 CS.
Yeah, I guess it's just that. It's minions, really, are the reason that Gambit are ahead in gold, though these fights are still going to be very close.
Yeah, you can see that there's about 1,800 gold lead in the top lane. There's about a 1,000 gold lead in the mid lane. And then on the flip side, though, supports are about 700 between them, and that makes up for the 80 carries. So it's really... Oh, yeah, 1,500 in the junglers, too.
Yep. Alright, Kuban making his way forward. Mercury Tread's on him. We almost had one unique boot per member of Gambit.
Almost. Had to ruin it, though. Anyway, everybody is trying to get over to this Baron and establish ward control of it. It's so important because both these teams have so much assassination pick potential, but instead, SKP, they're not going to play that game. They're going to try to bait them out. And
the flash engage, Zaitan
they got Nick.
Doesn't get much more. Lanterns out. Fish comes in for Kuban. This could be good. They blow up Rise and Z's survives. He kites the wave. Nick gets the kill though. Now Diamond on the chase. Kickus tries to survive, but he gets crushed down by Chrisland. More kills going to Gambit. What the Fox though looks for Nick. Can he get it? There's the Q slow. He should probably die through that. The W. The heal comes out, and it might be enough. Zaitan dies through Charm. What the Fox forced to run. It's a 3-for-2 in Gambit's favor.
He got away. Nick got away, and Smitty J, he's trying to do the same.
Charm doesn't hit.
Go back in.
In goes What the Fox. Doesn't do enough though. There's the kill for Nick. An ace for Gambit.
They go back and forth, and they leave with 3 members with flashing HP bars.
Wow. I don't know. Oh my god, they're really going to try. No.
Oh, there's the TP.
Okay. It's a bit of a waste of Yomu's though.
Yeah, you need to get the pit a little faster.
Great. Well, this will then be the Baron for Gambit Gaming. Good teleport by Kuban to take it out. Gambit, man, up 5,000, about to be closer to 7,000 as this goes down. Nicely played.
Crazy fight, back and forth. You can see that when there are so many assassins on the field, you really have to check your positioning at every moment in this game, because one misstep costs you. The Lantern from Edward saves Nick as Smitty J closes distance. You saw him stop there because he tried to twist in advance. They blow up Cuban, but then Nick re-engages, and nobody's paying attention to him when he was the primary focus before, and he ends up picking off Z's in the back line. Clean cut. Z's is one of the biggest contributors to this fight because he would have had the range to end this out, because now they don't have any range damage dealers left on the side of SKP, whereas Gambit pretty much only has that and Diamond. So they're just zoning. Chrisland body blocks there and stops Zaitan from closing distance, and they played this perfectly from start to finish. It was really crazy to watch this just play out. What the Fox, he closes this distance, goes in, the W doesn't come back when you die.
Yep, just enough damage dealt there. Such an incredibly close game. These fights nearly go either way, but so far, Gambit are coming out ahead. Up 5 kills, up a bunch of money. And now they invade for the jungle. Kickus forced to get away. Blue buff controlled once again by Gambit here. They're looking at going ahead 2-1 in the series.
Baroned up, 6.6k gold lead here, but there is a Tristana, there is assassination potential on SKP. You can't really count them out against 3 squishies on Gambit Gaming. It's really hard to just discount them. Actually, Diamond, he's actually going quite tanky.
Yeah.
Quite quickly.
And notice that as well. He doesn't go Brutalizer. Hex Drinker and Last Whisper is his opening. No, Last Whisper.
He doesn't have a Last Whisper or a Brutalizer.
Kidding. Yeah.
Maw after his Elder Lizard, and now he's going full tank.
Yeah, he went for cooldown boots for the extra spam ability. Zaitan gets blown up over the wall. Chrisland takes him down. Now into the base they go. Inhibitor turret under fire. Gambit doing what they can. Nick just pushing forward. He feels so safe. Gets a shield from Edward for good measure. Inhibitor now going to die. It's a 5-on-4. SK Prime cannot contest this.
Gambit Gaming Nick blowing them up over the wall with the help of Chrisland. And that's going to be the turrets being sieged down at this point.
I don't know if they can quick close the game out. They've got minions coming in soon. Fox in the wings. Will he try to fight this? Goes in for Diamond. He is not the right target. He gets exploded. Down goes the Talon. Fight begins. Smitty J dies in the middle of the front line as well. 3 more kills picked up. Only Kick is alive. That is not the fight SKP wants. This will be a Gambit taking game 3.
SKP pretty much just throwing themselves on the sword. That is Gambit Gaming at this point. Accepting their fates and just going hard and not getting anything for it.
Yep, another kill as Zaitan revives. Nexus goes down. Gambit now 1 game away from rejoining the LCS.
And you can see the relief there from Kuban. It's like, just 1 more.
Yep.
Just got to do 1 more to reclaim their spot in the LCS.
And Kuban's been solid. 6-3-9 that game on Rise. He had carried a few of the team fights by himself as a tanky damage threat. And this is looking, again, better and better for Gambit. Diamond has gotten increasingly good throughout these games, and where Diamond goes, Gambit seems to follow.
That's definitely true. He seems to be the morale that they needed. And in that game 1, it was very, very defeating for them. It was very, very big struggle. And then they made it to the second game, and they're like, all right, we have to play to our win conditions, play to our team comp. And then they come into this game 3, like, just don't get picked off. Pick them off first. You know, we played against a Fizz jungle before. It's a different Fizz jungle this time, but they still outplayed it. And the Talon didn't come up big. Nick, really good charms throughout the game.
Yeah.
And they played that level 1. Like, I cannot stress how crazy a level 1 fight is. Like if you go into a solo queue game, you're like, oh, it's a level 1 fight. When you're in a team level 1 fight,
Yeah.
people are constantly calling things, and you don't have a lot at your disposal. You're trying to do more, like a 5v5 fight with less, because everybody has one ability. And it's so difficult to play that right. And then when you do, you're like, all right, we played it right. We have to push our advantage. We get some consumables. And then they got lane swapped on. And then they went from there. And the fact they got lane swapped on and Kuban still did so well for himself, won the lane against Maokai when he showed up, had a level advantage all game long. He really deserves props for that. Yeah,
I absolutely agree with that one. It's been some incredible play. And again, great individual contributions. It's also worth pointing out, Gambit has now won the early game incredibly early off jungle invades in the last 2 games. The first one was a really smart play by Edward and Crislin together. They first blooded Kikis. This time around, an over-aggressive invade by SKP, another 2-1 there for Gambit. So it's even starting from the very, very beginning. And I wonder if that's actually starting to hurt SKP's morale as well. It seems like they're still fighting well, but like the very beginning of the game starts out poorly for SKP. Game 1, that didn't really happen. So if these guys can maybe get past the first 5 minutes without catastrophe, SKP, I think, will look a little bit better here. But we've got to see in the next game, and maybe even Game 5, if SKP can pull it back. But to help us break down the last match, let's check in with Dash and company at the analyst desk.
Thank you, Freak. And I feel like we have to touch on it immediately. It was successful in the first game, not so successful in the third game. Gambit found a way to deal with it. The Fizz pick.
Yeah, you know, he went AD tank Fizz the first game, switched it up completely to full-on AP Fizz this time around. But the level 1 was the kind of thing that slowed him down quite a bit, and that slowed the entire team down. But really interesting to see him switch the build up, especially with a non-AP mid now, since they had talent. He goes for the AP Fizz, and his mastery is 28-2.
28-2, yeah. It's just kind of crazy. It makes you question some of the decision making there. Dominic, you talked about the level 1 in the last game having a huge impact on the game. I feel like this one had possibly an even greater impact because it seemed a little more than a little risky, I should say.
Yeah, it was a really strange level 1. I didn't really understand how it was going to go down because you had Gambit coming from all sides and like flanking in a 5-man level 1, which is weird because normally you think that the team that is grouped as 5 will have the advantage because they didn't have much AoE. Like it was like a charm, a hook, stuff that you aren't really afraid of if you're all grouped together. But the charm came right on Tristana at the end of like the pack, so they were able to get a lot of damage on the range champion, which is really big because in that level 1 fight they had 3 melee champions and 2 range champions, and one of the range champions is getting chunked super low off that. So I think that hurt them a lot, and I think that the level 1 turning out the way it did dictated the pace of the game.
I think another thing about the level 1 that was really huge, it was 2 for 1, but Ryze ended up getting a kill. And since he started with a mana crystal, he was able to come out with a tier in his first buy. In the 2v1 swap, he can start stacking that tier right from the get-go. So he's not set behind at all in terms of his item build, just a little bit in the farm. So he's able to start stacking tier right from the get-go, which is huge for Ryze, which is able to power him through the lane swap phase and just eventually outshine the Maokai.
Yeah, the early stacking and the mana regen, just absolutely insane start for Ryze. But Dominic, you mentioned the fact that they had 3 melee champions, one of which was Talon. Yep. What do we think about that Talon mid pick? Because when we were back here discussing, we thought there were some other options against Ahri.
I think I was wrong. I think it was 4 melee champions, right? Wasn't it Braum, Maokai,
you're right,
Fizz,
you're
and
right.
Talon? So there's 4 melee champions, which means that if you're AD champion, your 1 range champion goes down first. It's so hard to win the fight because you have hooks and charms coming from everywhere. You have all these like auto attacks and like Ryze Qs coming in that you need to like get on somebody and give them in order to win the level 1. And since they weren't able to do that, since they got engaged on, it just made it really hard. Ahri flashed a wall and wasn't in combat anymore. She actually missed 2 more charms after that, but it didn't even matter because of how their team comp worked at that stage of the game.
I think that a Syndra pick would have been completely the best pick by far in that game because Syndra does extremely well against Ahri, and then low-range mages like Ryze, low-range AD carry, Lucian, Kha'Zix is going to die, get one shot instantly. Like Thresh can kill that champion as well. Syndra would have been phenomenal in that situation. But I think they shied away from it just because the previous game, he did not look comfortable on that champion.
So definitely some jitters then from the first game. So actually, talk to me about that. When you, just as players, if you have an unsuccessful game on a champion in a best-of-5 series, are you really tentative to go back to it? Or is that something that you just have to work on? You have to get better at saying, no, I know my ability to play this champion. I can jump back on it.
I think the most important thing is if you fail with a champion, you need to assess yourself and see why that champion failed. Did you have a poor level 1? Did you struggle in laning phase? Like, were you not feeling well? What exactly happened? Did you actually not play the champion? Are you not comfortable with it? And if the answer is, yeah, you're not comfortable with the champion, just accept it. Don't play the champion anymore. It's that easy. You can't afford to just play something that is good, but you're not comfortable with in the match of such high stakes.
To that end, Dominic, we throw statistics around all the time when we talk about win rates for certain players on certain champions. How much of that actually factors into your decision-making as a player when you're looking at a champion?
It's all about just comfort. Like, I know this split personally. I had a terrible win rate on Eve in the early part of the split, and everyone on Reddit's like, oh, you're the worst Eve in the world. But I personally felt super comfortable on the champion, so I just kept on picking it. If you are comfortable on a champion, you should take that over all the results, in my mind. You should be able to separate what happened in the game from your actual skill. Because if you botch a level 1 and you lose a game level 1, yeah, your champion's going to look bad. It's not going to feel good. But if you know your ability on a champion, you need to stick to it. And you just have to be really critical and gauge it. I think that his Syndra wasn't the best in game 2. In game 2. But I think if he just adapted, got Ignite, and played it into such a profitable matchup, it would have been fine. Like, he wasn't playing it into Zed with, like, a Vi. He wasn't in a weird situation. He was just going to play a straight-up lane phase. Syndra versus Ahri. Not incredible jungle pressure on either side, and he should be able to win that matchup.
All right, to that end, I love the connection that you made there. We're going to jump into our replay, which is about 32, 33 minutes into the game around the Baron Pit, where SK, it seems like a fairly good pick. They choose a good fight, but there's a couple positioning errors and things like that, and they actually, again, the melee issue seems to plague them. So, Crumbs, I'll let you take this one.
I think a key part of this replay is the fact that if you notice the map, Gambit has 3 pink wards in the Baron area, while SK has only that 1 green ward in the left side brush of mid lane. So they're going into this almost blind once Gambit retreats from that brush. And then it starts with a Bramble, it hits Ahri. Maokai flashes to try to get Ahri, but she picks up the Lantern right at the last finish. They finish Rise here with a fish, and then during the charm, Tristana gets hit. Now she should have rocket jumped away immediately, but she just kind of danced around. She had the opportunity to rocket jump into the race and get away. She ends up getting killed, and then now you just can't. Threshbox basically single-handedly soloed the remaining 4 melees in the team because Talon used his gap closer on the Rise. They all blew everything for him. They can't come into the fight. They just don't have any more gap closers due to the team comp that they have. And then Red here with Ahri's build, she went with the Zhonya's and the Rylai's Crystal Scepter. Talon expecting the Ahri to get killed with the last remaining rake after the Hourglass. Can't finish him off. Gets killed by Braum gets killed later in the end, and then now here Talon's trying to salvage something. Kha'Zix gets a W heal, or he gets a, what's that called? A dangerous game.
Dangerous game. That's right. It is a dangerous game. So it does beg the question, when you're balancing a team in terms of your own champion picks, you've overloaded yourself with these melee champions, and in a team fight, at what point is that going to be too costly because you no longer have the gap closers when you did need to assassinate somebody, and now you're just kind of running for your life and scrambling for pickup kills.
I think the most important thing is you can run a team comp like that, absolutely, but you need to be exceptional at vision because you can't be the ones that is lacking in vision like that fight happened because they're just going to be able to retreat constantly, and you're going to be not only struggling to jump to them, but you're going to be struggling to just find them. So you got 2 things at hand before you can even get a fight going. But if you control the vision and you have them try to chase you or like kind of cautiously check brushes, you're going to have a really easy time picking people off and jumping them because they don't know where you are and you're melee. So you can actually basically get them to face check a brush and you can pick them off. But they really struggle to get their vision control, and they suffered for it by taking these fights that were clearly in the favor of Gambit.
Yeah, and I'd just like to say that pick and bans, you can play a comp like that, but it's not optimal. You had an option to pick a Syndra, and your comp won't be so binary. That comp you're playing 4 melees, and there's no poke on that comp. You have to just hard engage, run at people, and try to kill them. You don't want to pick that into a Ryze, ideally. Into a Ryze Thresh, that's not the smartest option. If you go for the Syndra there, you at least have like same type of pick potential, but you have more range. You have opportunity to pick your fights a lot better instead of just having a Braum ult flying at an Ahri. Ahri has a bunch of mobility and a Lantern. That's not the situation you want to put yourself in. You want to get your draft in a spot where you have a higher chance to win, not a spot where you can win if you play it perfectly.
Yeah, I like that idea. And one final note, I think, to point out for SK is I would really love to see them play a game where they don't do something at level 1. Because I feel like their over-aggression, their desire to make a play and get ahead and put themselves in a great position has backfired now a couple times, and it's working against them ultimately.
I think the level 1 they did the first game was fine. They just sat in the brush and waited for Gambit to do something. That's kind of the same mentality they should go into the game. Like, look, just wait for Gambit to come into us, and then we'll make sure that we can punish them. They almost got a kill. If it wasn't for your Gambit having an Elise to face check the brush, they might have face checked and gotten first blood for themselves. But by 5-man stacking that, you're not putting yourself in any risk. You'll have a big advantage by being a 5-man group and not having to move anywhere. But they invaded really deep as 5, and they ended up paying for it. So either they do that, or they just do a 5-man point defense and just do a reactive, like trade sides of the map. Just go for a standard level 1. They proved that they could do take a win off Gambit if nothing goes wrong level 1, so they really just have to make sure that they can play it passive. And honestly, I just want to see them play like a point defense style. Use all your trinkets. Nothing happens level 1. All right, let's take the game from there, because that's honestly going to be the best gauge to see which team can come out ahead.
I think they got mind gamed by game 2 because they didn't do a proper point defense. They didn't have their trinkets at the right time, so they got invaded on. Their red buff was stolen in front of them, so I think in game 3 they're like, all right, so let's do something aggressive. Instead of just doing a point defense where we might get screwed and they might not have correctly identified what they did wrong in their point defense, they wanted to do something where it's like, okay, we invade, we get vision. If we're all 5 grouped together, we should be able to trade evenly. And that backfired too. So I think right now they're in a really bad spot for the level 1 because they don't know if they should point. They don't know if they need to invade. They don't know how to get an even level 1, which is really what they want.
Well, so we'll see if they can diagnose those early problems in Game 4. Gambit are, though, just 1 game away from locking up their spot in the LCS. After a quick break, we'll jump into Game 4 versus SK Prime to see if they can get it done. Stay with us. That's right.
Finally, King shows up if there's nothing, but here's this fight, 4-man.
Dragon fight, in goes Z's, Edward will go down, the Shark doesn't matter. Now Kuban also gonna fall. Zayton holds the front line for as long as he can, but SmittyJ is about to fall. WTF also getting chased down. So much damage comes out from Kuban.
Nick got away, and SmittyJ, he's trying to do the same.
Charm doesn't hit.
Oh, go back in.
Goes WTF, doesn't do enough though. There's the kill for Nick, an ace for Gambit. WTF in the wings, will he try to fight this? Goes in for Diamond, he is not the right target. He gets exploded. Down goes the Talon, fight begins. SmittyJ dies in the middle of the front line as well.